The press to handstand is one of those movements that's impossible until you do it once. It's a combination of skill, strength, flexibility, and many people want to work towards it, and for good reason. It's well worth your time training. That being said, what should you train? We all know that famous Bruce Lee quote, which is, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And the same thing applies to attaining skills. We're going to have much better results if we really max out one or two core drills as opposed to playing around with 20 different ones and making very mediocre progress. By far the limiting factor for most trainees when it comes to developing the press to handstand is strength. I know that there's always talk about the flexibility and the skill component of press, but at the end of the day, you can't outskill and you can't outflex your ability for that base level of strength. You just need to be strong. In fact, just check out one of my first ever presses. It's not pretty, I haven't got good flexibility, but I can muscle through it. Now, we don't want our final press to look like that, but it certainly should be considered the foundation. So we need to consider this when picking drills to effectively train the press to handstand. This is why I love the wall press to handstand. Not the back to wall version, the chest to wall version. Because this allows us to eliminate those first two components, kind of the skill and the flexibility side of things. It allows us to just focus on getting strong in the shoulders, the traps specifically, to develop the strength required to achieve the press to handstand. This is what is going to give you that foundation. There's a few reasons why I like the wall press drill so much, and that's because number one, we're stronger in the negative range of motion, which means we're going to be able to lower through a larger range of motion. The press to handstand gets harder the lower we go. By using a negative, it allows us to enter a deeper range of motion, train a larger range of motion, and get closer to that full press position. Training it in a chest wall position allows us to put all of the load through the shoulders. When we train back to wall, this wall supports the shoulders. It basically takes most of the weight off it, which is not what we want to do. We want to get strong here. So using that chest to wall position allows us to focus on loading the shoulders as much as we can. The reason for this is that we have the feet on the wall to assist. That friction of the foot sliding down is going to give us some assistance to reduce the load so we can do a larger range of motion. Finally, the wall acts as a barrier. It really helps to reinforce a good pattern in the press to handstand. It helps you think about trying to get the hips over the hands. It helps you keep thinking about pushing the shoulders underneath the hips towards the wall and pulling the legs in tight so we can move past that 90-degree angle and begin to lower down into that press position. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about going through the motions of this drill. It's about really mastering it and maxing the most out of it. So here are a few mistakes that people often make when it comes to applying this drill properly. Number one is that they go too far away from the wall. This kind of means that we're not able to keep the hips over the hands, and we're also not able to use the feet on the wall to reduce the load as we get lower down. As I mentioned earlier, this movement gets harder the lower you go, so we want to use that assistance, and that's the reason that we're doing this drill. To find the right distance away from the wall, start in a pike position with hips resting on the wall and place the hands firmly on the ground. This should be about the right distance with less mobility, meaning your hands are placed further away and will then work out later in the drill. You may also find yourself losing connection with the feet on the wall because you try to stay too wide in that straddle position. We want to think of this more like a windscreen wiper. So the feet come inwards as we get to that bottom position closer to pike. This better mimics the press, and it means that you can also use more assistance with the feet on the wall to max out this drill. Finally, you also want to think about the direction of the push, because in press to handstand, it's the combination of pulling the legs in and pushing the shoulders in as well. So we don't want the shoulders to come forward. Instead, we're going to try to push the shoulders back towards the wall, try to keep them under the hips as long as possible. That's going to best train the strength that we need for press and also best teach the press for when you finally work towards freestanding positions. When it comes to training this, I would really just overemphasize that negative element. Really just build up reps here, taking 7 to 10 seconds on that lowering phase. You can do it as singles, you can do it as doubles. Really build up your capacity, and this is going to make that base level of strength that you need to achieve the press and ultimately make your journey towards it that much easier. As always, if you have any questions or if you want to let people know your personal preference when it comes to press, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Right next to it is also that thumbs up button if you want to support the channel. and the subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe. Don't miss out on any more future videos. Other than that, have a strong week. Peace.